Hello, Marie Burns here with you from Mind, Money, Motion. I have been reviewing a chapter a month from my book, The Before Financial Checklist. So as we wrap up the year, we're going to also wrap up the book. There's actually 3 chapters that we'll review today, and they're all about working with the experts. So I'd like to share a few do's and don'ts. Whether you're in need of a new mechanic, a dentist, or a hairdresser, your main priority is usually to find someone you can trust to meet your needs reasonably. The same holds true for seeking financial experts, like a tax advisor, an estate planning attorney, or a financial advisor. So whether it's because you've moved, or life has changed, or you just want or need a change, intentionally looking for a new expert in your life can feel daunting, overwhelming, or just frustrating. So let's think about some do's and don'ts to help you get started with that process. First, do ask. What I mean by that is starting a conversation about who to consider can often be a good place to start by talking to family or neighbors or friends. Who do they know or maybe have already worked with in the area of expertise that you are seeking? How was their experience? Would they recommend it? Excuse me, the only word of caution here is to be clear that you are shopping, right? Which implies considering more than one recommendation, because you want to avoid feeling pressured or obligated to choose someone just because someone knows them or recommended them, and you might end up feeling like they're really not a good fit. Also, do verify. That old adage, trust but verify, holds especially true when you're searching for someone to help you with financial matters. You've worked hard for what you have in place, so you really want to be sure you're doing your homework in finding the right person or firm. Your family, friend, or neighbor may trust that person, but you should verify for yourself by meeting with him or her. Professionals usually offer a complimentary initial meeting that allows you to ask questions and for them to help you learn more about their services. So take advantage of that opportunity to meet with them in person. I always suggest meeting with at least 2 different companies, asking them the same questions so you can compare your answers easier. But you also get what I call a gut check on your comfort level with that person as well. It's also important to consider timing. Do consider the timing. Some professions have busier times of the year that would be best to avoid for an initial meeting. CPAs, for example, in the United States, may not even be available for an initial meeting sometime in February through the middle of April. And think about your best timing for a meeting too. Are you at your best in the morning or the early afternoon or maybe another time? And give traffic some consideration too if you live in a bigger city. You don't want to schedule a meeting when you may be stuck in rush hour traffic on your way there. You may arrive frazzled or late or both. Also look for similarity. Do look for similarity. So when you meet with financial professionals, for example, ask about their typical clients. Are their average clients similar to you? Are they accustomed to advising folks that are in the same situation as you? And lastly, be consistent. It's good if you can make a list of questions in advance, so you ask the same questions of each person you meet with. For the CPA, as some suggestions, you may want to ask if there's a meeting included with the tax filing, either before or after the return is prepared. Ask if after reviewing 2 years of tax returns, they can estimate what your annual tax preparation fee might be. And lastly, ask how are things like tax planning and email or phone call questions handled. For the estate planning attorney, you might consider asking what their philosophy is on who needs a will versus a trust. Very common question. For an estate planning package, ask, will there be a flat fee or is it an hourly charge? And how about how are changes in future document reviews handled? And when you're meeting with the financial advisor or financial planner, ask how they're licensed. Are they a certified financial planner, a CFP? Or are they required to act in a fiduciary capacity? Fiduciary meaning only giving advice in your best interest. How many clients do they have and how do they get paid? Very legitimate things to ask. And lastly, maybe what areas specifically do they advise on and how has that changed over the years? So let's finish up with the don'ts. Don't forget to provide important information. I'm talking about once you've selected the tax, legal, or financial expert that you want to work with, remember, the more information you can share about your situation, the better the advice can be. Providing the past 2 years of tax returns to the CPA, for example. Sharing a net worth summary with an estate planning attorney. Or current statements with a financial advisor can all help give you more comprehensive advice. Also, don't take shortcuts. How often have you found you get what you pay for to be true? Using a will kit or an online fill-in-the-blank service instead of an estate planning attorney, for example, could backfire later. That upfront cost of drafting documents correctly and thoroughly might end up being just a fraction of the cost to pay later if a court needs to be involved or probate that could have been avoided ends up taking place. Also, don't procrastinate. Estate planning, especially, is the biggest, what I call back burner area of financial planning. So it often gets put off the longest. I know it forces you to think about unpleasant things, death, incapacity, life for your loved ones after you're gone. So no one likes to think, let alone act on those thoughts. But remember, this is not an if, this is a when fact of life. So take care of yourself and your family by getting things in writing. And check out my links to help you with those checklists about getting things in writing. And lastly, don't forget to communicate. I know a CPA once told me that his least favorite sentence to hear is, well, I know I should have checked with you first, but tax ramifications can be really difficult to remedy after the fact. Talking with your tax advisor before purchasing or selling or whatever it is can often save you money, even if you had to pay for the advice upfront. Not disclosing an asset to an estate planning attorney so that you can plan appropriately for its title, its ownership, its beneficiary can be costly in time and money in the end. Communicating is always for your benefit. So do start a list of who to consider meeting with along with the questions to ask them, and don't delay. I encourage you to get started today.